I'd like to invite you to join us on the Sabbath Day Live via the internet. Log on to our website, which is www.theisraelofgod.com. Click on the link Sabbath Day Live on our homepage. You will need Windows Media Player to view our program. We stream live twice every Sabbath at 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Central Time. If you enjoy our program, we would appreciate your donations to help defer the cost of continuing this work. Send donations to the Israel of God, 2515 East 75th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60649. Also, if you're in the Chicago area, please feel free to join us at our study class located at 2515 East 75th Street here in Chicago.
I've been looking,
searching, trying to find the right way to walk. Stay beside me, God. You can try me. I wanna walk in your light.
I've been looking,
searching, trying to find the right way to walk.
The Lord is my light, my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. And whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemy, my faith and trust I put all in thee. Believe you got the world in your hand. You bless me, Lord, I know I can stand.
Show me the way, Lord.
I will be faithful, for I am desolate and afflicted. Lord, show me the way.
PA crew. We're going to get right to the lesson, sisters and brothers. You know, like last week, we did a lesson from Zedekiah to the wilderness, which Zedekiah was the last king that Israel has ever had. And we dealt with showing you that the Lord, before he take Israel back, he is going to take Israel to the wilderness. Now, sometimes people get the idea that we don't need to deal with things concerning Israel, but I'm going to tell you something, sister and brother. The whole creation that the Lord have, all this Bible is centered around Israel. Why? Because Israel is the Lord's chosen priest. We are supposed to have taught everybody else. But because we have misbehaved, the Lord called a curse on us, sisters and brothers. He told you, you know, when in the 28th chapter of Deuteronomy, he told Israel, look, if you do all the things I want you to do, you're going to be blessed in the field. You're going to be blessed in the city. Your children are going to be blessed. Your work of your hand is going to be blessed. I'm going to make you the head and everybody and not the tail. You're going to have to loan to everybody. Nobody going to have to loan to you. However, if you do not do what I tell you, you're going to be cursed in the city, cursed in the field. You're going to be cursed wherever you go. Then you're going to go into Egypt again, which in our case, captivity, again by ships, where you're going to be sold as male and female slaves. You're going to be scattered all over the earth. And wherever you are, your soles of your feet are not going to get any rest. So you're going to be hid away in prison houses. And your life will hang in balance all the time. In other words, you're most likely to get killed if you don't do what I say. And we didn't do what he said.
That's right.
So the Lord had it saying, these curses are going to be a sign upon you. Wherever you go, you know what a sign will identify. That's like a brother was arguing with me one time. Well, how do you know? Well, you see, why do you know that you're an Israelite? I said, simple. In this entire hemisphere, who came here as a slave? That's a sign. And I tell them, wherever we are, the same thing. Like during the Black History Month, I told you that the people in Nigeria beating on Israel. People in Ethiopia cutting children and hands off, abusing, selling. In fact, to tell you the truth, everywhere we go, the MO is the same. Nobody cares. And in fact, the Lord even called us the children of the slaughter. And it said, ain't nobody going to turn aside and ask, how are you doing? Nobody cares. And we hate to swallow that hard pill, but that is a fact. Nobody cares. Don't have nothing to do with white. Don't have nothing to do with black. It has something to do with the curse. The first captive we ever had was Egypt. When we left Egypt, we got into it with the Philistines. We got into it with the Canaanites. And on down. Like I tell people all the time, that old myth that the Gentiles and the other people went on the African continent and raped the continent, took you by force, is just that a myth. People, the same color as you, sold you to the Gentiles. You know why? Because you are under this curse. I said, if we tell our young people and inform them, look, you can't do like a lot of the other children in whatever place you find. Like in Ethiopia, Ethiopian children misbehave, they slap them on the hand and send them home. A Falasha, which they call a stranger out of the tribe of Dan, misbehave, they lock him up, they shoot him. Same thing here. Young Gentile misbehave. Well, he's being mischievous, slap him on the hand, send him home to mama. You misbehave, you evil, gonna shoot you, throw you down on the ground, put the knee in your back. Why? Because of the curse, sister and brother. Train your children and let them know. You cannot talk back. You can't raise hell. What you can do is say, yes, sir, no, sir. And get old like me. But everything was here, sisters and brothers. The Lord tried to broker a deal with Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Babylonians, so we could keep some kind of government. We didn't go for it, so he scattered us all over the world. It's all that simple. Now, when the Lord gets ready to take us back, he's not taking us directly to the land of Israel, sisters and brothers. We're going to the wilderness, just like it was when he brought us out of Egypt. So just like the lesson last week was from wilderness, from the Zedekiah, the last king we have, to the wilderness, this one is titled, From the Wilderness to the Kingdom. From the wilderness to the kingdom. And all this, sisters and brothers, is going to be pulled off by that same Jesus that my Hebrew Israelite brothers hate. But there's going to come a time on this earth, sisters and brothers, that you're going to have a time that's called a great tribulation. Terrible time. You think it's been terrible now? You got something coming. You ain't ready for this unless you are informed. And even if you're informed, I don't know if you're going to be ready for this. But if you are informed, you might be able to escape this time which is called the Great Tribulation. You get a lot of people that have mistaught it, called the 7-year tribulation. Sisters and brothers, 7 times in the Bible it called it 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to wait until the 3.5 years when you see the sign that Jesus gave us to run, you're going to get caught right in the middle of it. But the people that have some information and that know what's going on, you're going to be a part of the church that's defined as Israel. Let's start this in Revelation, the 12th chapter. Because a lot of people think, people go to church all their lives and never go into Revelation. And sometimes, people go to church all their lives sometimes and never read no Bible.
That's right.
Ministers preach. Now, he went out to the bookstore and bought him a sermon. And you sitting there and he reading it. And look, sisters and brothers, you wouldn't send your child to school and they come back and tell you what a dynamic speaker the teacher is. When they come back, they have to tell you what they learned in school today. That's the thing that I tell people always to check somebody. When you go to church, go out of church, you ask them the question, what did you learn in church today? Average person can't tell you nothing because it's ritual, because people do not believe that there is a God. And the non-believer starts right here where I am. I remember years ago, Time magazine had an article out. It was called Believers in the Pews, but Agnostics in the Pulpit. And when I read it, I said, that is correct. Because if you really believe in God, then you're going to teach what he said. But now, before this time, this great tribulation, 3.5 great tribulation come up on earth, sisters and brothers, the Lord is going to move his people. When I say move, that don't mean he's going to get you and take it away. But his people are the people that have knowledge. You know what's coming on, you know what's going to happen, and you know when and where to flee for safety. We're going to start this at 12 and 1, and we're going to learn a few things on our way of learning a few things. Revelation 12 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven.
Uh-huh.
A woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet.
Go ahead.
And upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
Now, this represents Israel, sisters and brothers. The sun represents Jacob, the moon represents his wife, and the 12 stars represent the 12 sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. Go ahead and read.
And she being with a child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered.
Go ahead.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
Now, this red dragon, that represents Satan. But Satan is a cherub angel. Cherub angels have 4 faces, calf wings, calf feet, 6 wings with eyes all over. Now, how is it that he is defined as having 7 heads and 10 horns? Because these are the organization that Satan worked through, sisters and brothers. This is the Gentile dynasty from Nebuchadnezzar down to the European Economic Community. If you don't read and you don't do research, you will not recognize who this is that Satan is appearing after.
That's right.
What are these 7 heads? First one is the Babylonian head, sisters and brothers. Babylon, under the rulership of Nebuchadnezzar, was the first nation to rule the entire earth without anybody to challenge them. Second was the Medo-Persian Empire. Took over, ruled the whole earth. Next was the Greek Empire. Ruled the whole earth. Next was the Roman Empire. Ruled the whole earth. But the Romans were supposed to fall and rise 10 times. And we're looking at the 10th resurrection right now in the name of the European Economic Community. But ain't nobody paid no attention. Because the business people ain't about the church, and the church figure they don't need nothing, don't have to deal with that. All you got to do is worry about being raptured off to heaven. But the Lord put this here. It have not occurred to anybody that you have a whole western end of Europe have a common currency, and that's never happened since the fall of the Roman Empire. It never crossed nobody's mind. Now, brother, what we doing here about it is in church because it's written in the book.
That's right.
Because of this, somebody going to have to move. So this is Satan. He stood before the woman, which is Israel. What you mean Israel? Because Israel is God's name. Israel is the one that the Lord adopted and gave his name. Our father's name is Jacob, sisters and brothers. But during the 1,000-year millennium period, the Lord is going to adopt all the rest of the nations. Then everybody will be the children of Israel. In other words, will be the children of God.
That's right.
But that's a time. But right now it's us. Like people read when Moses went to Pharaoh, and he told Pharaoh, "Thus said the Lord God, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. If you don't let my son go, I'm going to kill your son, even your firstborn." To use the word firstborn, tell you that there's some more coming. And he was talking nation. He wasn't talking individual. So now, this dragon, he stood before, and at this time it was during the Roman Empire, because that's when Jesus showed up. Because he is this child that the woman was laboring to deliver. Go ahead and read. What verse?
Verse 4.
Uh-huh.
And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven.
Go ahead.
And did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
Now, the 3rd part of the stars, in other lessons we'll show you, these are talking angels, because the angels are called stars. A third of the angels got thrown out with Satan. They're around on this earth somewhere. It is written that they are held under chains of darkness. You can't see them, but they're here.
That's right.
So he stood before the woman to devour her child as soon as it was born. Go ahead and read.
And she brought forth the man-child.
And she brought forth a man-child.
Who was to rule all nations with the rod of iron.
Who was to rapture you off to heaven.
Who was to rule the nations.
Who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. This man-child is Jesus, sisters and brothers. Then you got people running around, they don't even know that Jesus was a Jew when he came in the flesh. That's why I marvel at people when they tell me, say, why can you be a Jew or Israelite and not a Christian and be a Christian at the same time? I say, hey, Christ was a Jew. Don't you know the 12 apostles were Jews? Lord got ready to send apostles to the Gentiles. Who did he send? Paul the Benjamite under the banner of Judah, still an Israelite. So now, he brought forth a man-child which was to rule the whole earth with a rod of iron. Go ahead and read.
And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared of God, that they shall feed her there 1,260 days.
How many years is that?
3.5.
3.5 years, sisters and brothers. So now, this prophecy jumped from the time that Jesus came, died, and went back to heaven until the last days, because these great tribulations is not going to be until the last days. So the woman went into the wilderness while she is to be safe for 3.5 years. Skip down to verse 13 and go ahead.
And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
Now, when he saw, see, the Lord threw him out, so he persecuted the church, out of which Jesus came. And that woman was Israel. Go ahead and read.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness into her place.
Go ahead.
Where she is nourished for a time, and time, and a half a time from the face of the serpent.
We're still talking 3.5 years in the wilderness. There is a place that's called the wilderness. It's all desert now, sisters and brothers. They can't grow nothing in it. They can't irrigate it. They can't put water in it. Can't do nothing because the Lord have this preserved. This is in the Sinai area. All these wilderness, we have the maps where they are, sisters and brothers. If you hang around long enough, we'll show them to you. They can't do nothing. Therefore, ain't no condos going to spring up all over it either. They can't do a thing with it because the Lord have it preserved. And like last week, if you had caught last week's lesson, we would have shown you where the Lord's going to bring in vegetation, ponds and rivers and all kind of stuff to sustain life in this big desert over there right now. But until that time comes, it's going to remain desert. But the Lord sent this woman, and she's going to be preserved in the wilderness for these 3.5 years. Go ahead and read.
And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
Now, Pharaoh tried to catch Egypt. He sent his army, didn't he?
That's right.
Water drowned his army. But this is talking symbolically, Israel, the people that know the truth, Satan going to try to stop them from getting to the wilderness. But the Lord is going to help us. And when he can't get us, let's see what's going to happen. Go ahead and read.
16. And the earth helped the woman. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
Go ahead.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
So now when Satan couldn't get the true church, I'm talking about the people that have knowledge, sisters and brothers, then he turned on her seed. Who are the seed? These are the people that have been taught the truth by the church, but they just didn't think that you had to flee to a foreign country. They just thought, well, maybe, I'm a servant of God. He can protect me anywhere. And he can, but he said he was going to protect you in this one place. Not that they won't know the truth. Not that they might not even be keeping the law. They're keeping the law. If the book didn't say it would, if it said the woman seeds which keep the testimony of Jesus and the commandments of God, they're going to be doing it. But they just, you know how it is. Well, look here. I don't think I'm going to leave my house. The Lord is going to protect me here. Why should I flee the country? I'm an American. I'm a Haitian. I'm a Jamaican. I don't need to leave here. You understand? You got your problem. Because he is going to make war with her seed. Did we finish this?
Yes, we did.
Now let me show you. And these people that keep the commandments of God and the testimony of Jesus, as far as flesh and blood, they will be counted as saints too. So let me show you what's going to happen to these people. Let's go into the 13th chapter of Revelation. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. 13 and 1. Because once Satan can't get the real people, believe me, they're going to try you. And you think that ain't nobody going to try you, think about it now. Think about what happened when you go and tell somebody that that Christmas tree in your living room is pagan. Christ didn't rise on Easter Sunday morning. Your mama's not in heaven smiling down on you. She is dead. And she's going to be dead until the first resurrection. What? And you can't eat that pig and that catfish is an abomination. Look here, you get out of my house. The time going to come, sisters and brothers, that the Lord said, hey, a man's household going to be, a man's foes are going to be those of his own household. That's right. A woman too. So now, this Satan, he come to you in the form of the nations now, because he can't pop up and do nothing to you, because God threw him down in the Garden of Eden. Fixed it so he can't ever pop up in front of nobody else. He only did it, let him pop up one more time, and that's when he tried Jesus. But let's look at him coming in the guise of his own, of these nations. 13 and 1, go ahead and read.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
Go ahead.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Now look, ain't that what Satan looked like in the 12th chapter of Revelation?
Yes, it did.
Rise up out of the sea. What sea? The sea of people. These nations coming up from among people. Go ahead and read.
And upon his horns 10 crowns. And upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
And upon his horn 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. Look, sisters and brothers, you do some research in Western Europe. Every one of these nations over there have a prime minister, a president, or whatever they call a leader. Each one of them rule a country. That's why when the people jumping up talking about, well, Greece is in trouble, Greece going to fall, I tell them Greece not going nowhere because Greece is a part of the team. What have they done? They rallied around them to hold them up. This is about the 3rd time that Greece have defaulted. Why is it that the rest of the Europeans won't let them go down in the Western Europe? Because prophecies say they're going to be there, and Greece is one of the main players in prophecy. But then you know this because the Lord has shown this to you. While everybody else is speculating, you know exactly what's going to happen.
That's right.
So now, when this beast rise up with 10 horns, and each one of them horns had a crown on it, that means that each one of them was a head of state. Go ahead and read.
2. And the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard.
That represents the Greek Empire. Go ahead and read.
And his feet were as the feet of a bear.
The Medo-Persian Empire.
And its mouth as the mouth of a lion.
The Babylonian Empire and the 10 horns represented the Roman Empire. It is all the same empire that's coming back together because this is the Gentile dynasty started during the time of Nebuchadnezzar. Go ahead and read.
And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
Where did he get his power from?
The dragon.
The dragon. Go ahead and read.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. And his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast.
And now that head was the Roman head, sisters and brothers. All the other nations served their time and went on. Babylon came and went. Medo-Persian came and went. The Greek Empire came and went. But the Roman Empire is still there. Come back in the form of 10 horns. Go and read the treaties that they had to sign. You know what they call the treaties of Rome. But don't nobody pay no attention to that. You know what I mean? Oh, well, you know, that's circular stuff. And the people in the government, that's religious stuff. So everybody looking the other way, and Satan is getting ready to backdoor the whole world because you're sleeping. So he came up, and he got his power from Satan the devil. So if you get your power from the devil, then you go obey the devil. Ain't that right? That's who you got your power from. Go ahead and read.
And they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast.
You mean people are worshiping the devil? I have a great big secret to you, sisters and brothers. Huge secret. Don't you know Satan is the only one in the entire Bible that said that he wanted to go to heaven? On your own, go read Isaiah the 14th chapter. Satan is the one that got thrown out of the Bible, and he wants to go back. In other words, he wants to make him a homecoming. But every funeral You hear people, well, that's not Sister Jones in the casket there. That's just a shell. She have made a homecoming. She's looking down on us smiling. I don't like that. You know why? It's because that ain't as merciful as God. Sister Jones might have a daughter that's married to an abusive husband. Might have a son that's a crack addict. Might look down and see Miss Murphy coming in her door, which she always suspected of messing with her husband. I bet she ain't smiling then. I like what Job said, they shall not be wicked. I like what Solomon said, the dead know not anything.
That's right.
But if you get your power from Satan, and it said the whole dynasty got it, then you want to go to heaven because that's where you want to go. You want to go back home. That's why they call a funeral a homecoming. Go ahead and read.
And they worship the beast, saying, who is likened to the beast? Who was able to make war with him?
Go ahead.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies.
Go ahead.
And power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
That's that 3.5 years again, isn't it?
That's right.
Because the Lord had lined it up. This organization, that common market, with the religious head, which everybody thinks is the holiest man on the planet, is going to be the religious lead of it, and they're going to bring some drama on this earth that you can't even dream of. But go ahead and read.
And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God.
Yes, sir. The law ain't no good. Go ahead.
To blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven.
Go ahead.
And it was given unto him to make war with the saints.
And it was given unto him to do what?
To make war with the saints. And to overcome them.
And he won.
That's right.
Finish that.
And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations.
Look, sisters and brothers, this is why you better get to the wilderness. Because if you get outside the wilderness and you keep the commandments of God and the testimony of Jesus, you will carry the title as a saint. But why? Because you have been set apart by the word of God. People don't understand what sanctification means. Only the word of God can sanctify you. When everybody else enjoying Christmas, you've been set aside. I ain't gonna do that. When everybody washing their cars and getting drunk on the Sabbath day, looking at the football and doing whatever, what you're doing is you either somewhere reading your book, or you're doing nothing.
That's right.
You ain't firing up no fire on the Sabbath day. You know why? Because the word of God, it said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Don't buy on the Sabbath day. Don't sell on the Sabbath day. Don't do no matter work on the Sabbath day. That's what sanctification means. But today, but then somebody told you that, well, the Christian Sabbath day is Sunday. Why is that? Because Christ rose on Sunday. Wait a minute. When did Christ die? He died Good Friday. Wait a minute. The Pharisees came to Christ and asked him, Master, we will see a sign of you. And that sign was whether he was the Christ or not. He said, an evil and adulterous generation, I will give you but one sign. So you love signs, but I will give you but one sign. Just as Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, so would the Son of Man, talking about himself, be in the heart of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. Sisters and brothers, can you get 3 days and 3 nights from Good Friday to Easter Sunday morning? Because if he did, then Jesus, not the anointed one. We still waiting on the Christ.
That's right.
So then, if you don't know that you can't get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday to Sunday, why is you in front of people calling yourself Dr. So-and-so? Jesus told you by the mouth of the prophet that he's going to be cut off in the middle of the week.
Right.
Middle of the week is Friday. It's Wednesday, sisters and brothers. Jesus died. They put him in the grave. He was in there Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday. He was in there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and rose Saturday evening just before sundown, which coincided with all prophecy. So if Jesus didn't rise on Easter Sunday, then whose holy day is Sunday? Think about it. Maybe it's named Sunday because it's set aside for Satan's sun worshipers. Food for thought. This guy gonna blaspheme the word of God. He gonna make war with the saints and he gonna win. So if this guy gonna do this, and you are a saint, wouldn't it behoove you to find out when this guy's rulership gonna start? Somebody tell me, you got a guy that when he show up, he gonna kill everybody on the block. First thing I want to know is when is he gonna show up? And where is he gonna show up? Wouldn't that make sense? God knew you would answer that. He know that you would want to know that. So he gave it to you. Let's go into Matthew, the 24th chapter. Now, sisters and brothers, safety is always enhanced by knowledge. Sometimes the best thing to do is to possess is to know where not to be when trouble starts. Matthew 24, because the Lord tell you when all this is going to start. But then you have to know a lot of things to know sometime one thing. Because then asked Jesus, when is the temple going to be torn down in Jerusalem? They asked him, when is he coming? And asked him, when is the end of the world? He told them all the stuff going to happen. But this is the main sign. Verse 15. Go ahead.
When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand.
Now, what if you never heard of the abomination of desolation? I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to ask for a show of hand. In the church that you came out of, did you hear anything about the abomination of desolation? Whew. Everybody in here be dead. What I got, about 4 people? What about the holy place? Spoken of by Daniel the prophet. So if you was a New Testament Christian, then you wouldn't read Daniel the prophet, would you? But Jesus referred you. Whoso read it, let him understand. Go ahead and read.
Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to his clothes, to take his clothes.
Because that's an urgent time, ain't it? He said, now if you're in Judea, flee. People tell me, well, you know, brother, why don't you go back when we going to go back to the land? I said, when Jesus comes. Man, you need to go now. Why should I go somewhere and I'm going to have to leave when he comes? So he said, if you're in the field, flee. That's urgency, ain't it? If you're on the housetop, don't even take the time to go in and pack. Come off the roof running. That is urgent time. Why is that? What verse are we?
That was end of verse 18.
Skip down to verse 21. Let's see why that is. Go ahead and read.
For then shall be great tribulation.
For then shall be great tribulation.
Such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
That's a bad time, ain't it? We have seen a lot of time. We've seen what the Tutsi did to the Hutu. We've seen what Genghis Khan doing in this time. We have seen all kind of murder and ethnic cleansing. We have seen some horrible stuff, sisters and brothers. But they said this time is going to be so bad, there shall never be a time, there was never a time this bad before it, and there shall never be another time after it. That's bad time, ain't it? We see some bad time. In my lifetime, I've seen some ugly stuff. Go ahead and read.
22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
Except those days be shortened. When Jesus made this prophecy, sisters and brothers, there was not a weapon on the planet powerful enough to kill all flesh. But you got plenty now, don't you? Everybody got weapons. You know, America got so many weapons, kill all flesh. Russia can kill all flesh. Israel have kill all flesh. Even India have nuclear weapons. But everybody said, no, we ain't going to let Iran get none now. They might use it. But the whole thing is the Lord made that prophecy that they would, if it was possible, and it is possible, if he don't cut this thing short, they would kill all flesh. But it ain't going to happen. The Lord going to put it down. Skip down to verse 29 and see what happened. Verse 29, and go ahead.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days.
But the Lord's going to come, and immediately after the tribulation of those days, go ahead and read.
Shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light.
Go ahead.
And the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Go ahead.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
So that let me know one thing. First thing is, before Jesus comes, the sun's got to turn black. The moon's got to turn red. Stars have to fall. And then the Lord's coming. But he said something that don't seem to fit. Then all the tribes of the earth going to be mourning. Everybody loves Jesus, right? Why you going to be mourning when he comes? Because you're going to be introduced to the real Jesus.
That's right.
The Jesus that drowned the whole world except for 8 souls.
That's right.
The Jesus that destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for homosexuality.
That's right.
The Jesus that had Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin, almost destroyed down to 500 men because they protected homosexuality.
That's right.
You don't know this, Jesus.
Sure don't.
Oh, Brother Boo, that was the Father. No, it wasn't. You ain't never dealt with the Father. So when he comes, the whole earth is going to mourn. You know why? Because Revelation tell you you're going to kill so many people that the blood going to be up to the horse's brow. Jeremiah tell you that the slaying of the Lord is going to be from one end of the earth to the other. Isaiah tell you the slaying of the Lord is going to be many. And the 110th chapter Psalm said he going to fill all the places with dead bodies. You don't know that Jesus. Well, I don't like him. It don't matter. Because you're going to have to deal with him. So when he comes, sisters and brothers, he's going to do some real hurt to this earth. And let's go and look at some of this coming and what he's going to do. Let's go into Zechariah the 14th chapter. Zechariah chapter 14. Because before we go anywhere, sisters and brothers, to do anything, we're going to have to face this. Zechariah 14, we're going to start reading at verse 1. Zechariah 14 and 1. Because we're going to date some of this. 14 and 1. Go ahead and read.
Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee.
The day of the Lord cometh. That's the day that the Lord going to intervene, sisters and brothers. And his spoil, that means somebody going to be hurt. Go ahead and read.
For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle.
See, that's all nations against Jerusalem because the Lord going to take them where all the battle has been. All of them going to meet in the valley of Megiddo. The battle is called the Battle of Armageddon.
That's right.
He's going to bring all nations down to Jerusalem. Go ahead and read.
And the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled,
Go ahead.
and the women ravished. And half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city.
Now, so what if you're in that part where they're going to shoot your houses up? They're going to rape your daughters and your mother. You might not know what side that is, do you? So I ain't even going to none of it. So the Lord's going to do that, sisters and brothers, just before he comes. Because we got scripture to let you know that he's going to bring the kings of the east across that Euphrates River, and they're going to kill a third part of me. But before we go any further, put your marker here. I want to date this right here. We're coming right back here. Let's go into Revelation the 16th chapter, because we want to look at this battle here. Revelation chapter 16. Because the Lord put this here because he want to let you know that when he comes, people are going to be hurt. And the people that's going to escape are the people that have some knowledge. He is not going to save you in spite of yourself. People like that because we don't want to do nothing. Lord love everybody. Every time I hear somebody say that, I go and quote them where the people are going to be in the lake of fire. What happened to them? What kind of love is this? Everybody's too absolute. You understand? Verse 15, go ahead.
Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame.
Now look, sisters and brothers, he come as a thief to people who don't have no knowledge. But he ain't going to come as a thief to us. Because I'm going to know. The abomination, they call him the Pope. The holy place is a temple that's going to be built in Jerusalem. When I see him build that temple, and when I see Papa leave there and set up in the temple, I'm going to run if it ain't nothing but up and down in my living room. I'm getting out of here. You understand what I'm saying? See, but you are sitting in front of a guy that declared 45 years ago that the European Common Market, them 10 nations was going to be there, because I read it in the book. 45 years ago I read it. And when they come up, what's that, last year sometime, and they even call them the 10? It is good to see something come to pass that you've been talking to over 40 years, talking about. That's why the Lord inspired me to write the book, The Four Winds of Heaven, because it's all about prophecy and history. This is for real, sisters and brothers. You can go crazy if you want. So now, he said, I come as a thief. That's only to those that have no knowledge. And then if he find you naked, that's because you are not living the truth. You're a hypocrite. Go ahead and read.
And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon.
That's where he took them to, because that's where the battle is going to be. Remember, he said he brought all nations down to Jerusalem. And the place where he's going to bring them is the valley of Megiddo, or either it's called Armageddon. I just want to let you know what time this is. This is in Revelation, ain't it?
That's right.
Now, the way he's talking, that this is future, ain't it? Because the book said John was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. Mm-hmm. In other words, his mind was projected to the future. But what we read in Zechariah here, it is talking future. Now let's go back. I told you to keep your place. Let's go back to Zechariah, the 14th chapter. I just wanted to date that, sisters and brothers, so you will know this ain't talking about some time that has already taken place. This is something that's going to happen in the future. I'm not concerned with the past except for to know how it talks about the future. Now, verse 3. We read 2. Now, verse 3. Go ahead and read.
Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives.
Then where is the Mount of Olives? Go ahead and read.
Which is before Jerusalem on the east.
Now, this is what people read in 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, where the Lord going to descend from heaven with a shout and the voice of an archangel. The dead going to be raised, the living going to be changed, and you're going to meet the Lord in the air. But people seem to confuse meet with coming. If he is descending and you're going to be raised and changed and you're going to meet him in the air, where do you go from there? Right here.
That's right.
Because the Lord is going to keep coming. The saints going to meet him, and we're going to keep coming. Go ahead and read.
And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley. And half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south.
Because when the Lord's feet hit that mountain, it's going to split, because he's coming in his power, and he's going to have a whole lot of powerful beings with him. So when that mountain split and create a valley, his servant that will have gone through great tribulation, they're going to be running to him, because it's going to be some rough times, sister and brother. Go ahead and read.
And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains. For the valley of the mountains shall reach into Azel.
Go ahead.
Yea, ye shall flee like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And the Lord my God shall come.
Go ahead.
And all the saints with thee.
So where did he get these saints from? They met him in the air. Then you're going to meet him, and all of them going to come down, sisters and brothers. This is going to be a raw battle, sisters and brothers, that you can't even put on this Richter scale. Skip down to verse 9. Let's see what's going to happen now. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord shall be king over all the earth.
Didn't Revelation say he's going to rule the earth with the rod of iron?
That's right.
Is he going to be king over all the earth? Go ahead and read.
In that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one.
One Lord, and his name is one. You're not going to have all these names, Buddha, Allah, Hare Krishna, and whatever else. It's going to be Jesus, sister and brother. Because the Lord told you in Malachi 1 and 11, say his name is going to be from the rising of the sun to the going down of the same. His name shall be great among the Gentiles.
Right.
For your information, if you a Gentile don't mean you're not a Jew. Gentile mean that you are the children of Japhet. Japhet's children now are what we call European or plain white folks. What is the greatest name among the European and the white people?
Jesus.
That's whose name is going to be on earth. No other. You can kick all you want, but I'm telling you what's good for you. But if you don't accept it, don't matter to me. The Lord told the watchman all he have to do is warn the people. He said, now, if I bring destruction on the land and you don't warn the people and they die in their sin, it's going to be on your head. But if you warn the people and they still die in your sin, they sin, you have delivered yourself. So don't think I love you, I'm delivering me. I'm going to give it to you straight. Go ahead and read.
10. All the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
And it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananiel unto the king's wine presses.
And before he lift it up, he's going to flatten it, sisters and brothers. And we're going to show you it's not going to be rebuilt until the people get back. Go ahead and read.
And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited.
So now if Israel is at home, Jerusalem should be safely inhabited. Is that a safe place right now?
Mm-mm.
If you think it's safe, you haven't been reading the newspaper and looking at the news. But when the Lord comes, it is going to be safely inhabited, sisters and brothers. But the Lord's got to come first before that happen. And when the Lord comes, he's going to take down this organization over here, the 10 nations, plus he's going to take down the head of the 10 nations, and he's going to take down the religion out of which all the other religions come out of. The Lord called it the whore that sits on many waters. In other words, the false religion that claims it's from God, but rules over many people. When the Lord comes, he's going to remember her. Let's go in the 19th chapter of Revelation and look at it. So that's why I said the earth's going to mourn, sisters and brothers. You go to church and you get fairy tales.
That's all you get.
Adam and Eve ate an apple. So they ate an apple so their eyes was open. You can't get educated by eating no kind of fruit. Only education you get is if you eat too much, you get a stomach ache. Revelation 19 and verse 6. Revelation 19 and 6. Go ahead.
And I heard as it were the voice of a great multitude. It has the voice of many waters, and has the voice of many thundering, saying, Hallelujah, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth.
Now, that's when he comes, he's taking down the earth. He's ruling now. Go ahead and read.
Let us be glad and rejoice, and give honor to him. For the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife has made herself ready.
Well, who is the Lamb?
Jesus.
Jesus. See, people don't understand Jesus is the covenant God. And when you enter into the covenant with the Lord, you done married the Lord. That's why when you get married regular, you have to trade vows. You understand? I'm going to do this, and you do that. That is a marriage. Marriage is a covenant. So the marriage of the Lamb is going to be when he comes, because the Lord only deals with covenant people. That's why when he called Isaac his only son, even though Ishmael was his only son. Why did he call Isaac Abraham's only son? It's because Isaac was the son of the covenant, sisters and brothers. So he's talking about the marriage of the Lamb here. Go ahead and read.
And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen.
So she had to have the right clothes on. She had to have fine linen. Go ahead and read.
Clean and white.
What does that represent?
For the fine linen is the righteousness of saints.
So you can't marry the Lord if you don't enter into the covenant with him. And he gave you his covenant, his 10 commandments. Told Moses, be careful how you write these, because it is on the tenor of these words have I entered into a covenant with you. And he married Israel in the wilderness. We're going to show you this. But go ahead and read.
And he saith unto me, write. Blessed are they which are called into the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, these are the true sayings of God.
So blessed are you if you're called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. But where's this marriage going to start, sisters and brothers? This matrimony starts in the wilderness. Why? Because that's where the Lamb is going. Jesus ain't going directly to the Lamb. Mount of Olives is in the wilderness. But let's go and show you. Let's go into Isaiah the 16th chapter. Isaiah chapter 16. He's not going, this is the thing about it. He ain't going to rapture you off for one thing. The other thing, when he comes to the earth, he is not going directly to the land. It's because he's going to bring everybody to the wilderness. He's going to see where your head is. And if your head is in the wrong place, you just might lose it. And I'm not doing loose talk. We're going to do some reading here. Isaiah 16 and verse 1. Isaiah 16 and verse 1. Okay, read it.
Send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land, from Selah to the wilderness, unto the mount of the daughter of Zion.
Why is it? Because the daughters of Zion going to be there. That's where he's going to take his church. So send him now. Why are you going to send the ram to the wilderness? Because he can't go nowhere else, because that's the where the Lord took Israel when they brought him out of Egypt. We're not concerned about Moab today. Skip down to verse 5. And let's show you that this is him that's sitting on the throne. Go ahead and read.
And in mercy shall the throne be established.
Go ahead.
And he shall sit upon it in truth, in the tabernacle of David, judging and seeking judgment and hasting righteousness.
Now, he is going to come like the angel told Mary. You're going to have a son. You should call his name Jesus. And the Lord God is going to give him the throne of his father David. So he's going to come and he's going to sit on the throne of David. However, it starts in the wilderness, sister and brother. Because the Lord only operates through covenant. He's going to have to marry this woman that ran to the wilderness. Let's go and look at it. Let's go into Hosea, the 2nd chapter. We go to so many places, sister and brother, because we can't interpret the word of God. We let the book interpret it. The Lord knows what he said, so he can tell you what he said. People tell you, well, I think the Lord want me to let you. What do you think? You can't even stop yourself from getting old. You can't even stop yourself from smelling. That's why you have to take a bath. Since I was a boy, I hated taking baths. I just hate smelling worse. That's why I take one. But if I could think, be smell good and clean all the time, that's what I do. If I can't do that, why is it I'm going to try to interpret this guy that created the air that I breathe, and I have never seen it one time in my life? And the guy was so stupid. He told me, you can see air. Yeah. And then they had a machine, and then they put some kind of dye in it. I see dye blowing in there. Come on, man. Hosea, the 2nd chapter. Let's start reading at verse 14. Because the Lord is going to take his church to the wilderness. This is what people don't understand. The Lord said the time going to come is going to be so bad that everybody's going to turn to their own people. And they all going to flee to their own country. Because the Lord gave everybody a country. All of the sons of Adam. It's just the sons wanted everybody. I want to keep mine. I'm going to take yours too. And I'm going to expand my horizon. That's where war and devastation come from, sisters and brothers. Verse 14, go ahead.
Therefore, behold, I will lure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably into her.
Go ahead.
And I will give her her vineyards from thence, in the valley of Achor for a door of hope. And she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt.
He's doing the same thing with this woman. Remember the woman that had the man-child, didn't she flee to the wilderness? Because he said, I'm going to lure her into the wilderness. I'm going to speak comfortably to her in the wilderness. I'm going to give her an inheritance. The people, when they come out of the wilderness, they're going to know what they got, what part of the land that they're going to. Go ahead and read.
And it shall be at that day, saith the Lord, that thou shalt call me Ishai, and shall call me no more Baali.
You know what Ishai means? My husband. Because he's going to start the marriage in the wilderness, sisters and brothers. Ishai means my husband. Go ahead and read.
For I will take away the names of Baalim out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. And in that day will I make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground. And I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely.
So he is even going to make a covenant with the animals. He's going to take you back to pre-Noah's flood days. Before Noah them come over on the ark, animals didn't attack animals. Animals didn't attack people. In fact, man didn't even eat meat. Nothing ate meat. Everything was fruit and vegetarian. The Lord put meat on the table when he got on this side of the flood. Why didn't he have it before Adam and Eve sinned? Because we was not supposed to die. If can't nothing die, then you don't have nothing to eat.
That's right.
But now, sisters and brothers, he said he's going to make a covenant with the animals and the creepy things, snakes and stuff like that. And they ain't going to bite you. And then he said he's going to break the battle out of earth. Because when the Lord comes in this Battle of Armageddon, ain't nobody going to have no stomach for war no more. Everybody wants to go to war now. And the Lord, and I know why, because the Lord tell them to prepare for war. But when he come to war of Armageddon, somebody pull up a pistol, you going to run. In fact, they going to run. God going to kill some people, sister and brother. What verse are we?
We're at verse 19.
Go ahead.
And I will betroth thee unto me forever. Yea, I will betroth thee unto me in righteousness.
That's why I know this should have been marriage, because the Lord said he's going to marry. If you're going betroth means somebody's promised to somebody. But he said, you're going to call me Ishai, my husband. That means I'm going to marry you. Go ahead and read.
And in judgment, and in loving kindness, and in mercy. I will even betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou should know the Lord.
So you're going to come to me, and you're going to believe in me, and you're going to do what I say. Then you're going to know me. Skip down to verse 23, and go ahead.
And I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I will have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy. And I will say to them which were not my people, thou art my people. And they shall say, thou art my God.
Now, this is to Israel first, and then to all of the rest of the people that adopted, that God adopted during the 1,000-year millennium period. But it all starts in the wilderness, sisters and brothers. God is a covenant God. That's when you marry him. And he's going to bring you there. And if you do not obey him, you'll never get out of it. Let's go into Ezekiel, the 20th chapter. I'm just showing you, this wilderness is a big thing, sisters and brothers. Everything's going to take place. Last week I showed you we found salvation in the wilderness. But everybody is trying to get you off this earth. You ain't going nowhere. If you're in the first resurrection, you're going to meet the Lord in the air. That's the best you can go. You're going to be caught up in the clouds. That's not very far. You know, we have a lot of classes, sisters and brothers. We fly at a lot of places. We got people out of town now that flown out of town. And I'm always looking down on the clouds when I fly. So you ain't very far. But the whole thing, sisters and brothers, as far as we're going to go to meet him in the clouds, everybody come right here. The Lord wants to set his kingdom upon earth. We're going to show you. You keep coming here, you find out that everything you've been taught has been upside down, like the book said. Ezekiel 20 and 34. Ezekiel the 20th chapter, we're going to start reading at verse 34. 20 and 34. Okay, go ahead.
And I will bring you out from the people, And will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered.
Go ahead.
With the mighty hand and with the stretched out arm and with fury poured out.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
Ain't that what he did in the beginning? He destroyed Egypt through his fury, and he brought them into the wilderness, and he was there. He said, there will I plead with you face to face. When he wanted Israel, he had Israel to build a tent. And when he wanted Israel to rest, the cloud would come down on the tent. And when he wanted them to move, the cloud would go back up and start moving. They take the tent down and they move on. And when he spoke to Moses, people think that he only spoke to Moses in the mountain. No. Most of the conversation God had with Moses was in the tabernacle of the congregation. Moses would go in there, the smoke would cover it, because he said he wouldn't let Moses see it. And Moses said, and you hear the voice of God coming from above the mercy seat, from between the cherub angels. Because he said, he pleaded with them face to face. He said, I'm going to do this again. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and read.
36. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Lord God.
That's the way I'm going to do it. Go ahead and read.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I'm going to bring you into the bond of the covenant. You know what the word bond means? That you're being bound by your word. God said, I'm going to give you this if you do this. He is bound by his word. That's why I tell people, do you think I'm going to make it? I said, do you keep God's laws and statutes? Yeah. You believe in Jesus? Yeah. You believe in baptism? Yeah. Then why shouldn't you make it? You're doing everything you're supposed to do.
Make it plain, boy.
God is bound by his own word that he have to deliver you if you do everything he tells you to do. And that's not hard, sisters and brothers. I got to tell people all the time, I had the easiest job on the planet before I retired. I was a city inspector. I hated the job. Why? Because it took me away from the word of God. I could be doing something better. However, if you hate something, it's hard to do it. And the job was a God scene. But if you don't like it, it is hard. Same thing with God's law. If you don't want to discipline yourself, it is hard. But the day you decide that you're going to serve God and discipline yourself, it becomes easy. It's all that simple. That's why he said he's going to cause you to pass under the rod. And he's going to bring you into the bond of the covenant. Go ahead and read.
38. And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me.
Go ahead.
I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn. And they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and ye shall know that I am the Lord.
That's why I tell a whole lot of my Hebrew brothers that run around spitting and spewing hate. I said, now you're going to get back to the wilderness when the Lord comes. He's going to do you like he did Egypt. He ain't going to leave one Israelite nowhere. But you never make it out with your attitude that you got. Because he said, I'm going to bring you from among the people. And I'm going to bring you into the wilderness. I'm going to bring you into the bond of the covenant. And I'm going to purge out from among you the rebels. And you shall not get into the land of Israel. Sisters and brothers, if you want to know what God is going to do tomorrow, find out what he did yesterday.